Good afternoon, children. Yesterday we started our second chapter, Adaptations in Plants. So, we discussed about in that adaptations in terrestrial plants. So, let's continue our chapter by starting at its second phase, that is adaptations in aquatic plants. As I told you earlier, that aquatic plants are the plants which grow in water or in any aquatic habitat. So there are different types of aquatic plants. Let's continue in studying their adaptations one by one. First category we are going to study is free floating plants. Now let us learn what are free floating plants. As shown by its name, we can easily understand that the plants which can freely float on the surface of water are called as free floating plants. As you can see in the picture, the plants are floating on the surface of the water body. Let's read out their adaptations. These plants are small in size. They have light body and they have a spongy body. Spongy means there are air spaces between the cells of these plants, and that helps that plant to float on the surface of water. The stems of these plants are reduced and roots are well developed. Their stems are reduced means they are very short. Leaves have thin waxy coating. The leaves of these plants have a waxy coating on their surface so as not to get spoiled by staying in the water for long time. Next, examples of these type of plants are Wolfia and water hyacinth. Next category we are going to study about is fixed floating plants. Now what are fixed floating plants? The plants which are fixed and float also on the surface of water is called fixed floating plant. Now the body of these plants are partially fixed on the bed of the pond and rest of the body floats in the water. You can see here in the picture that a part of the plant is looking above the surface of the water. It is floating and the roots of these plants are fixed on the bed of the pond. Let's read out their adaptations. The stems of these plants are light and hollow to enable leaves and flowers to float. Leaves are broad with a waxy coating that prevents them from rotting. Leaves have stomata on the upper surface to breathe easily. These leaves have stomata on the upper surface. As you studied in the first chapter, that leaves are present on the lower surface of or surface of the leaf, but that was in the category of terrestrial plants. In the aquatic plants, stomata is present on the upper surface. Roots are fixed on the bed of the pond. Examples of these plants are water lily and lotus. Next category which we are going to study is underwater plants. Now what are underwater plants? Plants which remain under the water every time and they grow there, that plants are called underwater plants. Now you can see in the picture, this plant looks like a grass. It is growing on the bed of the water body and its leaves are ribbon like. So let's read out the adaptations of underwater plants. Their leaves arise in clusters. Clusters means groups. You can see in the picture that leaves of these plants are growing in the form of clusters and they do not have any stomata. They have long ribbon like narrow leaves. They breathe in carbon dioxide through their body surface and gives out oxygen and the water. They have small roots and examples of such type of plants are tape grass and hydrilla. Next is some special adaptations. as you have already learnt in the first chapter that there are some special plants that do not prepare their own food. And now we are talking about some other special plants also which have some special features. These special plants are insectivorous plants, poisonous plants, plants with thorns, and saprophytic plants. Saprophytic means non-green plants. Let us read out one by one. First category is insectivorous plants. Now what are insectivorous plants? Plants which eat insects to protect themselves or to get enough nutrition are called insectivorous plants. Examples of these type of plants are pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, and sundew plant. Now, first category is pitcher plant. Now, how does pitcher plant looks like? Let's see in the picture. Pitcher plant looks like a pitcher. Pitcher is usually a vessel which is having a long neck. You can see in the picture that this plant is also looking like that pitcher. Now what are the adaptations of these type of plant? The leaves of pitcher plant form hollow tubes with a lid called pitchers. Hollow means they are open from inside. Insects are attracted by the colorful markings, delicious smell and nectar of the plant. Now what happened? This plant have different colors, and due to that colors insects get attracted towards this plant and they come towards it, and they are also attracted by its delicious smell and its nectar. As you can see in the picture, the lid of this plant is open. So when the insect enters, the lid of this pitcher closes. And that insect is digested by the digestive juices which are present in this pitcher plant, and then that gets absorbed by its plant body. Is it clear? So you can see clearly that insect enters through this hollow tube, and when the insect enters, its lid closes. Right? Now let's proceed to the next category, that is Venus flytrap. This is another type of insectivorous plant. You can see it is having hairs, sticky hairs on its body. Now this is much similar to that pitcher plant. In this plant it has sticky hairs which acts like traps. When the insect sits on its leaf, the trap shuts or closes, and the insect is digested by the digestive juices of the plant and it gets absorbed in its body. Next example is plants with thorns. This is the another category of special plants. Now there are some plants which have thorns on their body. You can see in the picture, these plants have thorns which protect them from animals. Examples of these plants are rose and bougainvillea. Next is plants with poison. These plants are the plants in which there is poison present in their leaves. You can see in the picture, these plants have poison in them, and that poison helps them to keep themselves away from the animals. It helps for their protection. When any animal touches this plant's body, the skin of animal starts itching. You can see in the picture green colored plants and they have poison in it. Example of this plant name is poison ivy. Next is saprophytic plants. Saprophytic plants are also called as non-green plants. Now non-green plants are those plants which cannot make their own food. Why? Because they do not have chlorophyll in them. They are of some different colors. Now let's read out their adaptations. These plants are also called as non-green plants because they do not have chlorophyll in them, as I told you, and they depend on dead plants and animals for their food. For example, coral root and Indian pipe. You can see in the picture, this is coral root and this is Indian pipe. They prepare their food from dead plants and animals. Next is grass family. This is the another category of special plants and they have some special features. In the grass family, there comes different types of plants like grass, bamboo, sugarcane, wheat, all the cereals, etc. Let's study about their adaptations. The stems of grass family are hollow except the joints or nodes. They are hollow inside. Grass leaves are longer than their width and part of them are wrapped around the stem. As you might have seen on the bamboo stick that the grass of that plant is wrapped around the stem in the initial stages. Examples are bamboo, wheat, sugarcane, dried grass, cereals, etc. These plants are useful to us in the very following ways. Bamboo is used for making baskets, chairs, mats, etc. Dried grass is used for packing material. Sugar is obtained from sugarcane. Cereals like wheat, rice, etc. they give us food. So students, this was all about the adaptations in the special plants. I hope you are able to understand this topic very clearly. If you will be having any doubt, kindly revert on our personal windows. Thank you for watching this video and revise it very carefully.